Be'ezras Hashem Naseh v'Natzliach. Hashem should give us extra siyata dishmaya in a new perek, and we'll be zoiche to be mesayim the Masechta. The siyum should be in about a month. Yeah. So we're in the perek Gozel Umachil now. This year's Ilu Nishmas Ovi Moirim Menachem Ben Akiva, Ilu Nishmas Ruth Bas Sholem Sol Bas Moshe, the first Esther Furim Bas Shoshana Malka, the first Yehudis Bas Rivka. Yeah, Besoich Shor Chole Yisrael, Latzola Sabuchu Avo Moshe Ben Gitlu, the first Esther Sol Bas Gitlu. Your wife. Okay, Refuah Shlema. So basically, the new perek is all about what happens to a child of a Gazlan. If a Gazlan stole money and then gave it over to his children, either he gave it to them or he bequeathed it to them. The question is, what happens in that second stage? And to be honest, it's not very simple, but we can. I think yesterday was the Shiur was understandable. No, we have to remember one rule. That rule follows us all the time. That's the number one rule. That's the first floor before we go on. And that is Yiush and then Shinui Reshus equals Kinyan, which means if there was Yiush, while in the hands of the first Ganav, the owner was Miyash, right? Then we say that if afterwards the Ganav sold it on to someone else, or maybe, and that's a point of Machloikis, if he bequeathed it to his children by simply dying, he died and it's theirs, then we say there was Yiush, there was Shinui Reshus. Now, that's it. It belongs to the second person, to the one who stole from the Ganav, acquired from the Ganav, or maybe, and that's a Machloikis, the one who inherited it from the Ganav. Now, the question is, and actually, you know what? I'm going to say it already now. There is a formula here that everyone believes in, just in different ways. Everybody believes, and that we're going to see maybe at the end of the Shiur today, maybe tomorrow. The formula says as follows. In the hands of the second Ganav, or the children, or the whoever, if it's be'ain, if the item is there, be'ain, meaning it's still there, yeah. In other words, you stole, I don't know, a computer, and then the computer is in the hands of a different person. Mr. Number Two, Mr. Shimon, does have to give back the actual item, and that's not so good with what we said, right? We said that he acquired it, but from some reason he does have to give it back. But if it's vanished, if it was eaten up, consumed, and not here, then he does not have to give it back anymore. We have to understand why, but that's a formula. So we have two formulas. Formula number one, there's a general rule of Yiush v'Shinui Reshus. There was Yiush in the hands of the Ganav, while in the hands of the Ganav, the original owner gave up already. I gave up, that's it. Then the second stage is a Shinui. There are many Shinui, we learned two prokim ago. Here's Shinui of Reshus. The Shinui Reshus means that it is really in the hands of a new person. That's change of ownership, change of authority, change of domain. Then we say that the first Ganav for sure doesn't have to pay. The second Ganav may have to pay the actual item, that's debatable, and definitely not to pay the value of the item. These are just the general formulas. I prefer no questions for now, unless you really, really understand. Don't ask me ifs and what if would have been, because we just spoke about the basis. So don't ask me about the 10th floor when we're in the first floor. Yeah. White flag. We know. No. We know it was Miyash. No, we know it's Miyash. We know. We walk around town and we hear him saying, "Vailel Cheslon Kis." It's a formula. It says, "Woe to me that I lost the money." Thank you. Now we are, by the way, holding in the words. I'm going a little bit above where we were yesterday. Let's start with the word of Oishia. We're about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 10 or so lines from the bottom of the page. Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Beis. Rav Oishia Nafik Masnisin Kavose Detani Rabbi Oishia. But before we continue, we saw yesterday a very, very, very important machloikis. The machloikis was as follows. The Mishnah said that generally speaking, the children after the death of the father, or even before the death of the father, if you gave it to them, The words of the Mishnah were that this child does not have to pay. These are the words of the Mishnah. The children don't have to pay. The question is, how do you live with it? What do you make of it? Says Rami Bar Chama, I recommend you remember it very well or write it down. Rami Bar Chama was the first opinion, and he said, you know what? That shows us the children are like a second reshus. The children inheriting from the father are a separate entity. There was like a passage between domain 1, the father, to domain 2, the children. We'll see other nafkaminas later. It's a whole new ownership, a whole new domain. It's not a continuation of the father, which means what? There was a shinui reshus. Very good. The Mishnah is with me. The Mishnah is my friend. The Mishnah says that if the children inherited, that's considered as if I bought it from a ganav, or I stole it from a ganav, or there's something else that happened second stage. So without going into details now of be'ain or not be'ain, generally speaking, I understand where the kids don't have to give it back. They don't have to give it back according to Rami Rami Bar Chama. Says Rav, except for when, remember what we said yesterday? I'm sure you all watched the video if you're not here. And that is unless it's an item which is very noticeable and known to the public to be stolen. The red Cadillac. Yeah, the red Cadillac was stolen from Victor, and everybody knows that's the red Cadillac that the father stole from Victor, Victor the victim. And Imela, if they drive around the city with the red Cadillac, then what? Then it's a shame for the father. It's like a kibud of the aim, and therefore don't do that and give it back to Victor. Very nice. Now that's Rami Bar Chama. Says Rove. No. Rove says children are the same domain as the father, which means, of course, they're new owners. They're not the same person. The father is in Gan Eden. I hope he's a gan of, yeah. The father is somewhere out there. But mitzad the domain they took over. It trickled down to them, and they're like the same authority. There's no change here from Reshus A to Reshus B. There's no Mireshus L'Reshus. Rova, excuse me. How do you explain the Brisa, the Mishnah? The Mishnah said that they don't have to return. Why don't they have to return? Why don't they have to give back? Mapitam. They should, because it's the same. It's like the father. It's by the father still. And even if there was Yiush, who cares? It's Yiush without Shini Reshus. Yiush without Shini Reshus, they have to give back. Answers who? Answers Rova. It's not there anymore. Remember the formula we spoke about before? If they're not the thieves and the item is not physically there, even though it's still really owned by the first owner, was owned, they already ate up. It was yellow cheese, what was stolen. They ate it all up. They're an Atkins diet. All they eat is, proteins. They ate it all up. Then what? Then we say they don't have to give back. And that, my friends, is the main chiddush of this Amud and the following Amud. That second stage Ganovim, even if halachically they do have to give back, because really the formula did not finish, did not really complete. Yeah, there was Yiush, there was no Shini Reshus. But because they are not the ones who actually stole, they did not do the Kinyan Gneva, the Kinyan Meshicha. They did not physically steal. A. B, the item is not there. They can go back to the original owner and say, with a big American smile, we're so sorry, but we're not going to give you the value of the yellow cheese that we ate stolen by our father. That is the main chiddush of this thing, and that's how Rava works. Okay? Now, we spoke also about, according to Rava, the end of the Mishnah was different, and we're not going down there because it's not part of the summary. Again, let's summarize. According to Rami Bar Chama, these children are second stage. There was Yiush and Shinui Reshus. It's a new domain. It's a new place. It's like they're not called the same name as the father. It's a new entity. And therefore, they acquired everything. Even if the item is be'ain, is there, they don't have to give it to him. Because that's it. Yiush, Shinui Reshus. It's bought by us. We bought it. We bought it from the Ganav, which is maybe not good. By the way, we bequeathed it. It's not our fault. Yeah, we inherited it. But it's after Shinui Reshus, by that yellow cheese is not yours. We're going to eat it in your face. I mean, if they're nice, you can give it back to you. That's Rami Bar Chama. Rabbi says no. Rabbi says they are the same domain. They are the same, ki'ilu, the same person. Everybody, I mean, a lot of people know the rule. B'ro kar edavua. It's quoted a lot in all kinds of, from publications. The son is a continuation of the father. Is the leg of his father. The son is like father number 2, like trickling down the same column, not a separate entity. Mimela says, Rove, why do they have to return? Excuse me, guys. There was no Yiush for Shini Rishus because there was Yiush. There's no Shini Rishus. No, says Rav, because they ate it up, that's it. It's not there anymore. Only then, because of that, they don't have to give it back to the father, because a second stage person does not have to give back something that was stolen with the first one, and he doesn't have it either. Yeah, it's like, as I said yesterday, in a very Balbatisha term, you can play catch with us. You can play hide and seek. You'll never find us. To steal, we didn't steal it. So there's no chiyuvim of the heishiv created on us through the gneva. The item itself, you can't say mamani gabach. Mamani gabach means, listen, the money is by you. It's not by us. In this case, we say, according to Rava, the zise kinderlach, who now inherited from the not such a zise father, they don't have to give back the value of the item that they ate. This is Rava's formula. This is Rava's understanding of the Mishnah. Now, Rava was supported by a Tana called Rabbi Shia. And here we can start. Let's go. Yeah, so far so good. The pshat. Did you understand the simple words that I'm saying? I'm not asking now for philosophizing. Believe me, there is enough going on in the Gemara without us. The Tani Rabbi Yoshia says Rabbi Yoshia. Now Rabbi Yoshia has an explanation in the Brisa very similar to Rava. Rava is happy to find Rabbi Yoshia as a friend, because if you remember yesterday, Rebbe was not like Rava. Rebbe was like Ami Barcham. The Tani Rabbi Yoshia. A goizel machil es bonov, a person who stole and fed his children while he was alive. He fed them, and that's it. It's in their tummy, yummy, yummy. It's not there. Machil means they ate it up. Pturin milashalem, they're potter, even though the father is alive, and even though they are the same domain as the father, it's eaten up. I'm sorry, and we didn't steal it. The father may have to pay him the value. By the way, if the father fed the children and the children are the same domain as the father because they eat by his table, the father may but they're potter. If he addresses a 16 years old who does not support himself, and he's supported by the father, and he's the same domain as the father, the 16-year-old will tell him, I'm so sorry, I didn't know, even if he did know, it doesn't make a difference. You know, I'm sorry, it's stolen stuff. I didn't steal it. It's not here. Goodbye. The father should pay him, because the father has to pay him the value. Obviously, a ganev who used up the stolen item and ate it up, the ganev does have to pay the value, but not the children of the ganev. So the children plus the value, that's too far already. They don't have to do that. Let's say now means what? He left it to them, meaning that he is now hopefully in a better world. He's now not with us anymore. So said, he died. There are two options now. Hey, here's Rave, Mazel Tov. If the gzela is still there, they have to pay. Why? Because there was no shini reshus. It's the same reshus. So there's only Yiush. And if it's inherited to them, it's as if it's still in the hands of the father. It's the item itself. The yellow cheese was not touched yet. They had to check the hechsher. They didn't yet eat the cheese, the big yellow cheese. And what? And now they are the same as the father. Okay, guys, there was Yiush, there was no shini reshus, and the item is here. Pay up. Give back the item itself. Give back the yellow cheese right now before the expiry date. The yellow cheese was so yummy. Woo. Don't tell my dietitian. Amazing. Gone. Sorry. The entire tub, the entire thing of cheese, gone forever. It's in the tummy. Then what? Turin, the apotu. Why? That's the chiddush of the sugya, which we'll see later on. I'll tell you a secret. I'll tell you the formula. If I did not steal, I don't have to give back unless the item is there. But if the item is not there, I don't have to give it. I didn't steal it. No, I didn't. Is the item here? Sorry, mister. We feel bad. We feel this, but we don't have to give you. That is very nice, according to Rav. This is Rav's formula. However, if the father, there is one case in even if they ate it up, they still have to pay. When is that? If the father left them a piece of land, then chayav l'shalom, then they have to pay. Excuse the pun. What is the piece of land? The piece of land which was not stolen, a piece of land which he from his hard-earned money he bought. They inherited from him a piece of land. Then they have to pay for the cheese that they ate. What does land have to do with the price of cheese? I'll tell you what we said yesterday. Since the father says Toisves, a bit of a kimta, but not a far off kimta. Let's say the father was taken to court, to Beis Din, before he died, and the Dayan told him, Rabbi, you have to pay. Hopefully he's not a rabbi. He told him, you have to pay for the cheese that you stole. And the Ganav said, okay, next week when I get to it, I'll pay. Yeah, okay, fine, very nice. And then he died. Such a terrible psak din. He works against, he got a heart attack. Lamaisa, at the time of the of the judge of the trial of the psak, the verdict, he had a piece of land. So everybody knows piece of land is what? Is a chayas. If I owe you money and have a piece of land, sometimes it's automatically mortgaged, which means if based in paskins that you have to pay up as a loan or a set, and you have a piece of land, even without saying anything, automatically there's magical power that falls into that land because it's based in, it's the neva, it's holzach, it's a psak. Mimela, the land is automatically meshubad. It's mortgaged to who? To Mr. Cheese owner. Mimela, the children, what did they inherit? They inherited a beautiful piece of land and big house in Savion, in Caesarea. Very nice. Do you know that this house is what? Is mortgaged. Yeah. Mimela, they have to pay even if they ate it up. Because now we're not saying it's that the cheese is eaten, not eaten. The land is mortgaged to that. When you first got it, it was already mortgaged. So I don't know how much is the yellow cheese. It's not the whole house. But let's say one tiny part of the house belongs to who? To Mr. Victor, the cheese owner, because it was mortgaged. If you inherited the mortgage, good. The mortgage remains. The shibud remains. In that case, they have to pay even if it was eaten up. But that's an exception to the rule. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm listening to you. We now have to go back to Omar. Let's continue and then summarize again. Omar, we're now asking two questions on Rava's potential opponents. One of them I didn't mention today, and we're going to attack them from this Bryce of Rav Oshia, which means Rav is just now on the stage, the limelight. Rav is super happy because we have a Bryce just like Rava, but it seems to be against Rami Bar Chama. Let's now deal with the third Amoira. Omar, ein gzela kayemes pturin. What did we say? If the gzela is not there, let's say the gzela was eaten up, they're patur. Okay, why? We said they didn't steal, right? And what? And it's not there now. They're patur. Nice. Reg the Gemara, name it Ebi Tuvta the Rav Chizda. Would that be a question against Rav Chizda? What did Rav Chizda say? Rav Chizda said, we saw yesterday, and I'll repeat it today. Rav Chizda said the following formula. Let's not talk about children inheriting. That was something I just got confused about. Baruch Hashem, I got it clear with Mechavusa's help. Rav Chizda said as follows. Ganav number one, Reuven stole from Victor. Ganav number two, Shimon stole from Reuven. Ganav from the Ganav. And when did he do that? Before Yiush. Before Yiush. Let's say, Victor's still looking frantically for his yellow cheese. Who moved my cheese? There's a book like that, I think, of psychology. Who moved my cheese? Who took my cheese? And what happened now? Now came Reuven and it's in Reuven's house, but he doesn't know. Shimon came and stole it from Reuven while before Yiush. Shinui Reshus before Yiush doesn't work. You have to have a process. Yeah, you have to have Yiush and then Shinui Reshus. So now it's considered as if Shimon stole it from the house of Victor. Why? Because as long as it's owned by Victor before Yiush, even though it's physically in the house of Reuven, the example I gave yesterday, it's as if the place where the yellow cheese is now resting in the house of Reuven the Ganav is like an embassy of Victor. If I go to the British embassy, where's that? In Hayarikon Street in Tel Aviv, I have to behave nicely. It's like England, right? All the rules of England apply in the embassy. Good, very nice. Good, very nice. Mimela what? I feel at home. Mimela what? Mimela, same thing over here. Shimon stole it from the house of Reuven before the use of the owner. It's as if he stole from the owner himself. And therefore, Reuven and Shimon are equally chayiv. When Victor comes and wants to do justice, can either sue Reuven to pay everything or Shimon to pay everything. So you see the children over here, the children which we assume are a second entity, soon we'll see they're not. The children, why don't they have to pay? If the children ate it up, they're like the second Ganav, and they took it from who? From the father, but Lamais was before Yiush. If they took something before Yiush and ate it up, they do owe it to the first owner. Why are they potur? The very, very clear answer, which we also saw before and see now, isn't life good? Very simple. Of Oishia stories after Yiush. Very nice. Who's that? Rav Chizda. Rav Chizda basically is talking here. Very, very simple story. There was Yiush. There was Yiush. After Yiush, if Shimon, the second Ganav, took it from Reuven after Yiush, then life is great. Yiush. Shinui Rashus is not a nice guy, Shimon, not a shidduch for my daughter, no way. But not for any of my daughters. Shimon took from Reuben post Yiush, not a nice guy. Now in the hands of Shimon, there was Yiush, A. B. Shinui Rashus, in the hands of the second Ganav, then he doesn't have to pay as long as But now, what doesn't he have to pay at this stage? La'achar Yiush, ever. If he stole it after Yiush, he doesn't have to pay. Yeah, there was Yiush, then Shinui Rashus. The second guy can say, yeah, when I took it from you after Yiush, then it's not yours anymore as much as before. Post Yiush is not completely not yours, but it's not completely yours, not completely not yours either. It's already one step further, says Tosfos. Because after Yiush, all Shinuim already apply. Yiush means if you're miyash from something, the item is 50% out of your hands. If I did the makriv partition and stole it further, then I'm potul. It's the second ganav. Yeah? And that is the formula over here. So the kinderlach, what are they? They are now potter from paying if it's not be'ain. However, if it is be'ain, they do have to pay. They do have to pay. Now, no, it's not his either.
After Yiush, and he's got the article and the different rishus, and Shimon sold it from Reuben. That was the question I asked yesterday.
Let me 1 second. Before your question, I'm looking at on my own chart that I made here for myself. It's in Hebrew, so I didn't share it with you, but I will share it with you, even though it's in Hebrew. Later on, I'll email it to you, and I'm saying it's online also. Basically, Rav Chizda now is in a bit of a predicament. Why? I'll read you soon. Rav Chizda is talking here after Yiush, right? And yet, what did we say in the Mishnah? If they ate it after potter, very nice. Why? Second stage ganovim are potter when it's not be'ain, when it's not there anymore. But if it's be'ain, if the yellow cheese is on the table and the children are, they didn't eat it yet, why the chayv to give the person? Why? If we said Yiush, b'shinui reshus, right? Yiush b'shinui reshus, the second guy can say goodbye. That's only if it's a ganev. But a yoyresh, Rav Chizda holds the krove. Rav Chizda and Rav are friends, as Rashi says. And Rav Chizda believes that the children are the same domain. That the kids of Rav Chizda is the same as Rava, which means, again, let me review again. Rav Chizda is in Rava's team. And what do they believe? Children are the same as the father. It's the same authority, same story. Very nice. Mimela what? If the yellow cheese is there, give it back. Why should they give it back? Because Lamai said there was no Shinur Rashus. The Chayfetz is still owned by the owner, even though there was Yiush. So what if there was Yiush? There was no Shinur Rashus. And look, it's here right on the table. Spun him. Achar Yiush and the Gneva was eaten up. They used up the money. They ate the cheese. They wasted the whatever. They threw the shirts in the garbage. I don't know. It's not there anymore. Then we say that they are potur. Then they're potur. Why are they potur? There was no Shinui Rashus. I don't care there was no Shinui Rashus. We say the same formula as Rava. If I'm not the Ganev, I did not commit the Gneva. The item is not there, I go fancy free because the item is not there and I wasn't doing an act. In other words, there's Gavre and Chefza. As a Gavre, I did not steal, no Chiyuv was created on me. As a Chefza, the Chefza is not here. It's right in my stomach. That's it. Right? Like Rava, same as Rava. Rav Chizda and their respect is like Rava and life is good. That's okay. I'll be with you in a minute after we go back to the Gemara. 1 second. Now let's share again the Gemara. And I'll answer you later. Now, Omar Mar, third line from the bottom. What did we say in the Brayso of Avishia? If the Gzel is still there, they have to pay. It's very easy, by the way. The Gzel is still around, the kids have to pay. The Gzel was vanished, they don't have to pay. Then we all understand. Now, the Gzel is there, they have to pay. Name it every tube to Rami Bar Chama. That's not good with Rami Bar Chama. Why? Rami Bar Chama believes the children we're talking after the death. The children, they inherit, the heirs. No, Rami Bar Chama believes they're separate reshus. They're separate entity. So why do they have to pay? Even if the item is be'ain, it's already Yiush v'shinui reshus. Mr. Finished. Rami Bar Chama, Kitanya hi, must be Kitanya hi. When the Tanya says that, it's lifnei Yiush. That Brayso of Rabbi Shia is talking before Yiush, which means, let's explain now Rami Bar Chama. Rami Bar Chama says like this. Before Yiush, let's say there was no Yiush yet, and the guy died. The Ganev died, inherited to the children, who are a separate entity, and are a separate authority. So what? So what? Lemaisa, lifnei Yiush, you messing up the order. There was a change of domain before Yiush. That ain't working. No. Shini Rishus before Yiush does not work. And therefore, that item still belongs to who? To the guy, to the victim, the victor the victim. He's not so victorious because it still belongs to him. He knocks on the door of the children who are 50 years old people, and they got the yellow cheese by Yerusha. They're very happy about it. They say, give me back the cheese. You know why? Because it's still owned by me. You're a separate entity, separate shmentity. It was before Yiush. Before Yiush, entity, a different entity doesn't help. If so, I'll ask you again the magical question. So if they ate up the cheese, why don't they have to pay? Why don't they have to pay? Right? Because Lamaise, there was no Kinyan Gzela. There was Shina Rishus before Yiush, wrong way. Yeah, short circuit. Again, the magic formula applies. But the magic formula applies in a different place. What's a magic formula? If I did not steal it and the item is not there, then I'll tell you, sorry, one cup of coffee maybe? That's it. That formula also applies according to Rami Bar Chama. If you follow the story, everyone believes in the formula of what? If a person who did not steal and the item is not here, he doesn't have to pay. They apply it in different places. But Lamaisa, everyone believes in it, and that's basically what Mishnah is telling me. So there's Rava and Rami and Rava and Rav Chiz on one side, and Rami Bar Chama on the other side. And when you look at the chart today, Hashem, I don't know if I'll have time to translate it into English or not, but it's all Gemara terms. Then you'll see it very nicely and very well, and it's also hopefully going to be online. And now your question is, if in the case of Reuven, can Reuven claim from Shimon? The answer is no, I don't think so. Because it does not belong to Reuven. That's the whole idea. When Shimon stole it from Reuven's house before Victor, the victim, was Miyash, then it belongs to Victor, not to Reuven. So Shimon did not steal from Reuven. Shimon stole from Victor. It happens to be the house. If I steal something, I don't know, some cup of tea from the British embassy, chas v'shalom, a tea bag from I don't know what, from Tetli, no more chashuv, then what? I'm breaking the law of England, not of Israel. Oh, what would be after Yiush? After Yiush, then he stole from Reuven. No, I don't think it's owned by Reuven yet. I don't think so. Why? Because Lamaisa, after Yiush, he will only, after Yiush, I don't think he can claim from Reuven either. Because although it doesn't belong to the victim anymore as much, but it doesn't belong to Reuven either. It's not completely Reuven's either because there's no shinui. It's a limbo, as far as I know. By the way, speaking of questions, I'm going back now to the previous parak, Bershuschem, and I still owe an answer to Rabbeinu Peretz. And it's a very basic question. Peretz was asking, what's a lochal mais at the end of the day? I'm sorry that I'm going now, creating a little autonomy over here, going an embassy from Parak Chi. What would be the halacha if a Gane of Gezel Ager who had Shvua, Oido, and then he was Moidet, Shvua Sheker, and Oido, and he has to bring Keren, Chomesh, ve'oshom. So we said Keren ve'oshom are me'akiv, and Chomesh is not me'akiv. And it wasn't so clear to me, and I'm happy it wasn't clear to me. What does it mean Chomesh not me'akiv if you didn't bring the Chomesh? Says the Rambam, I saw the Rambam, and the Forshim on the Rambam, they say a lot of things, but the Pashut Pshat in the Rambam is like this. Says the Rambam. The kapara he got, but he owes him the chomesh. That's what I think we said yesterday. Which means if a person brought keren, how much was stolen from Rav Rami Kenzie? 100 shekels. Let's not be greedy. 100 shekels, yofi. He gave the 100 shekels to who? After Avram's death, to the kohanim. Right? What about the chomesh? Later. He brought the osham, big, beautiful, nice, big ram. Kapara from Hashem, kohanim, ben Adam Lamokom, he has a kapara. There is a what I call secular death to who? To the kohanim. But the kapara was done. He owes money, but he's still mechuper. Mitzad Yom Kippur, mitzad oynish shamayim. I don't know. Okay, maybe he owes for owing money, but lamaisa, yeah, the kapara process is over with. He's ticked. All the boxes are ticked, and now there's a separate account. You owe money to would have been, of course, the nigzal. In this case, it's a kohanim, he owes chomesh, but that's a separate cheshbon. That's answering the question from yesterday. Continues the Gemara, starting today's Amud. I don't like to use this expression on the Gemara, but I do. As you know, there's this game to what? To pin the tail to the donkey. So not a good expression for the Gemara, but again, many times there are statements of Amiroim, right? And that statement, we connect it to one Brisa or Mishnah, and then another person comes and says, no, I connect the same line to a different Brisa. Or a better example would be from the world of computers, of the world of Word, and that is cut and paste, right? On copy and paste to a different document. We all know about that. And that's what we're doing over here. Rav Ahava, and a moira called Rav Ahava, matni leho Rami Bar Chama aho. He learned the statement of Rami Bar Chama, and he connected the statement of Rami Bar Chama to the following brisa. Now, what did Rami Bar Chama say? A very simple thing. What did he say? The children inheriting from the father are a new entity. They're a new financial entity, a new financial authority domain for all intents and purposes, even though it's an automatic thing. He closed his eyes, and it's automatically theirs, and they're his successors. Lo mishaneh. It's a whole new domain over here. And now we spoke about it regarding Gzela, that it's called Shinei Rashus, right? Now, Rav Ahava says, I connect the very same statement to a different bad father. Who is the other bad father? The father, which we thought was a very nice Hasidic person, a big tzaddik, all of a sudden discovered the dark secret that he was a malve beribis. You know that the $1 million that you just got in the inheritance from your father was money that he achieved, the money that he gained very illegally through ribis, through interest, not even heter iska. Oy, 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 oy. So now, what do they do? What did they do now? Oh, now what do the Yerushalayim people? He miraculously managed to have Yerushalayim kids, and they want to ask their rabbi, what are we going to do? Shall we return the money that we inherited to those who were the victims of our father, the shark? Yeah, we're children of a shark. We're sharkalachs. So now, do we have to give it back to the victims, to those who borrowed money and gave back the money with big interest? Yes or no? Says the Brisa, even if they know that the money is of ribis, what they're having in their domain now, and they don't have to give it back. Let's assume that a regular person does have to give it back, malve, they don't have to give it back. End of Brisa. Oh, okay. Now, remember we did cut and paste? We're now pasting the words of Rami Bar Chama to this statement. From here I can derive, from here I see, I see that the Yoresh is like a buyer. It's a new entity. In other words, it went through the laundry. Now it's a new place, and we're not mechuyev to give back, because even if there's a chiyuv to give back, balamaisa, we don't have a chiyuv to give back. Tosis asks the question, by the way, who says, before we get to the Gemara about it, who says b'chlal that they have to give back anyways, even if they're not a new authority? Who says the ribis money has to give back? You know why? The Meister, nobody stole anything. It's very illegal and also terrible. You can write a whole book about how terrible ribis is. But the Meister says, even if they have to give it back to the original owner, it's like a milve. He wanted to do it, right? It's a milve. Milve al peh, and milve not b'shtar. Yorshim don't have to give back. You know that? A milve which was only verbal, it's like a milve. In other words, there's money of who? Of Mr. Poor Loive, who gave back with a lot of interest. Why do you have to give it back? It's something that has to be given back at best like halva. Answers Tosis. Look at Tosis inside. You know what? Let's have fun. Tosis Afalpi, the first Tosis in the page, and I'm starting from the answer, the Yesh Lomer. It's the first narrow line of any Tosis in this page. Yesh Lomer. Even though the poor Loive gave it willingly, because it's illegal money in the hands of the loan shark, it's like a theft. Even though it's not, and the other side is also consenting, it's like a theft. It's like giving by mistake. He didn't give it to him as a gift. The borrower who gave back, instead of 10,000, he gave 30,000 gray market. That was like Zela. It's like B'toras Ribis. It's like Zela Bamish. Kevin Shamois Be'ain. The money is there. Again, the money given illegally to father the shark, to daddy shark, what about that money? That money is illegally in his hands like Gzela. It's Gzela. Gzela? You have to give back the gzela of your father, avada, unless we say, says Rami Bar Chama, riding on his horse. You see, I'm right. You see what? It's a new domain. If it's a new domain, then we say it's a new thing. We are not our father. Our father is the chiyuv to give back. We're not our father. We're a new place. We're a new domain, new authority. In we don't have a chiyuv to give back. Says Rami Bar Chama. Rava argues again. Look, he argued by us. And Rava says, excuse me, 1 minute. I have a problem here. I apologize. Rava Omar. Usually, really, the children are not considered like buyers, like a new reshus, like a new place, a new domain. Shiny hocho. Ribis is different. Ribis is the one of exception to the rule. The Omar Kra, the pasuk says, "Al tikach miito neshech v'tarbis." Right? It says in the Torah, "Don't take from him neshech v'tarbis," all types of interest. And then it says, I'm reading not in the Gemara, "V'chei achicha imach." Your brother should live with you. Explains the Gemara. The pasuk tells you ahadar lei. Says the Torah to the lender beribis, to the shark, give it back to him. So he should live with you. Who's the Torah talking to? Loshen yochid. This is like imperative to the present person. You should give to him, so he should live with you. You are using and you're abusing the needs and the weak point of the poor person, the weakness of the poor person. He should be able to live with you without paying crazy interest just because he has to live. This is addressed in the grammar here is sivui beloshen yochid, you and only you, which means, explains the Gemara, ledidei kamazar lerachmana. The Torah is warning him, only him, the actual loan shark. Lebore lo mazar lerachmana. But to the son, the Torah never spoke to, which means, in general, really could be that the sons are the fathers of the same domain, same reshus. They run the same house and the same thing, and afterwards bequeathed to the children, they're the same as the father. Oh, but so here there's a special gzeres hakosov that it goes only on the person who lent physically, the one who actually gave the money, who signed the document, and the lawyer. Only they are the ones that have to give back. But the children who are not the ones who actually did it, they don't have to give back. That's an exception to the rule. Azoi says Rova. Okay? Rami Bar Chama says no. Rami Bar Chama says no. That reflects on the entire Torah. That everywhere in the Torah, so we assume right now at least, whenever the child inherits, it's a new domain, it's a new story. Ribis is not an exception to the rule. Says the Gemara now, is there an argument between Ravada Barav and the others? In other words, we learned the statement of Rami Bar Chama, the children are a new entity, regarding what? Geneva. Ravada Barav learned it about Ribis. Is there an argument, or maybe there's mutual agreement? Is it either or is it both? Let's see what the Gemara says. Man de matni lo amasnisi. The one who learned Rami Bar Chama regarding our Mishnah, which is about Geneva, Gezela, and the second generation Ganovim don't always have to give it back because it's a Rishunei Rishus. The one who said about Mishnah, Aval Braisa, no. In the Braisa, Rami Bar Chama kirov matni lo. But I'm sorry, I skipped the line, sorry. Man de matni la Braisa, sorry. Man, one line above the man, there are two mans, one on top of the other. We're now near the little aleph over here, the little Ksav Rashi aleph. Man de matni la Braisa, kol shiken amasnisi. The one who learned it about the Braisa, and the Braisa was a debate. Is the reason the children don't have to give back because they're a new entity, or because of the special Gzeras HaKosov that only the loan shark has to do kapora? If you learn about the Braisa, all the more so in the Mishnah, because in the Mishnah there is no other explanation. In the Mishnah there is no other explanation to explain why it's Be'ain, right? Except for Rava. And Rami Bar Chama for sure did not agree with Rava. But man de matin la masnisin. But the one who learned Rami Bar Chama in the Mishnah that regarding Ganev, we say it's second Reshus, Shinei Reshus, Aval Braisa, maybe the Braisa Rami Bar Chama kirov matni lo. In the Braisa, you don't have to say that Rami Bar Chama argued on Rava. Why? In the Braisa, if you notice, there's no machloikus on the facts. There's only machloikus on the why. Why? The reason? Maybe Rami Bar Chama agrees to Rava. The halacha is one. There's no argument in the facts and the halachas of the Mishnah. If money was bequeathed to the children of Ribis, they don't have to give back. Maybe Rami Bar Chama in the Mishnah agrees to Rava. But in the Mishnah of us, for sure they have a machloikus where? In halacha. What was machloikus Rami Bar Chama and Rava in the Mishnah? Very clear machloikus that for sure exists. Again, the machloikus is, there's an item, look. He stole the jug from someone, from Victor, and gave it to the children. Do the children have to or not have to give it back? Nice and simple. When it was eaten up, everyone agrees you don't have to. When it was a famous red Cadillac, everyone agrees you have to give back. But if it's a hard and clear item, not such a famous thing, the jug. Maybe you, yeah. So Mimela, what? The jug is something in the house, not so famous, but it's still there. Then it's a machloikes. Why? Bava Kama says you don't have to give it back. It's a new domain. The father died, inherited. And Rava would say you do have to give it back because they're the same authority. So they're for sure argued. In the Brisa, they're not necessarily argued. Now we have a new Brisa on the same idea. Now we're going to talk about how old are the children? Those children who got it from the father or inherited it from the father, are they 13 or are they 3? Can the Victor, the victim, can he go to the 5 years old and say, you give me the cheese right now? Or will be sued for, I don't know, child abuse, for shouting at the child? I'm joking. Question is again, do small children have the chiyuv to give back? Yes or no? It's not so simple. Let's review again. Oh, the one who goizel, the children eat it up, they ate it up, they're potter from paying. According to Rava, why the potter from paying? According to Rava, even though they're the same authority, right? They're still potter because they didn't steal it. According to Rami Bar Chama, that is only true before, lifnei Yiush. Sorry. No, the Pneu Shalim in any event. Sorry, the always potter. Let's say he bequeathed it and now he died and he left it to them by Yerusha. Why do the big kids have to pay? According to Rava, of course, they are the same authority. Who, according to Rami Bar Chama, didn't Rabbi Tachtel just tell you that the big kids, if they inherited, they don't have to pay? Why do you say they have to pay? It says Rashi, you can see it, Rashi, lifnei Yiush. If they got it before Yiush, they do have to pay. Because before Yiush, he says there was no Kinyan. There's no Shinei Rashus. Rami Bar Chama believes in Shinei Rashus. But if he died and gave over to them Yerusha before Yiush, then of course they have to give back the actual item, because there was no Kinyan Zela, no Rashus, Shinei Rashus. Ktanim, now come the star of the show. Here they come, the little kinderlach. It's very sad. They're Yesoimim, the little Yesoimim with tears running down their cheeks. Tanim pturin milishalem. The little ones don't have to pay, even if the yellow cheese is right on the table and the entire family are ktanim. Now, in order to make it less dramatic, let's say those kids of the Ganev are millionaires, okay? Don't say you're stealing from a little child. So now the ktanim still are potter from giving that yellow cheese who's at the table. Why are the potter from paying? Says Rashi, even though the gzela is there, it's mechasra govaina. In other words, the first opinion, but this is first opinion out of 2, this opinion believes that to retrieve my money from a Ganev, even if the money is right there, the item is there, I need a process called gvia, collection, to collect legally from little children. You can't, little children cannot stand in court, and that's a court case. You can't just do justice to yourself and take the law into your hands and take it from them. You have to take them to court and ask them to give back the cheese. And now you cannot take kids to court in simple language. And therefore, the ktanim are potter from paying, and they'll eat up the cheese. Next thing, ve'im amru gdoilim. Let's say the big kids above bar mitzvah said, Ein anu yoidim cheshboinu shechisha v'vinu imoch. The big kids can come and say, you claim that our father stole from you. We don't know our father's cheshboinus. We were in yeshiva. We were in college, or maybe we're adults. We don't know exactly the ins and outs of the business, all the wheeling dealings our father had with you. And we claim that what? Says Rashi, maybe he paid it back to you. You come to our door, your father stole from me, give me back that cheese, give me back those shoes, and give me back the red Cadillac. Who told you? The Yisoimim, the big ones, who do have a mouth to talk, they say, we don't know the cheshbonos, and maybe he gave you back the Geneva. Says the Brisa Pturin, the potter from paying. The potter from paying. In fact, the Gemara Mishum Damri Einanu Yoidin Pturim, because they say we don't know their potter. I don't know if you noticed my words, if you paid attention to my words. I was very exact in what I said. They said we don't know if the father gave you back what he stole from you. What does that mean? We know that he stole. Unfortunately, we knew our father, but maybe he gave it back to you. Why should it be potter? They know there was a theft. They admit there was a theft, right? And maybe it was given back. They have their own bori v'shema, bori odif, right? You can't say for sure he stole and maybe gave back. Well, maybe not. And you admit that he stole, right? So of course you have to pay, right? We all know he stole and maybe didn't give back. We have to change the version here, says Rove. Rove again is playing a big role over here. If the Gdolim said, let's say the Gdolim, the people above Bar Mitzvah, say, we are very well aware of father's cheshbonos. You know something? Says the big shot son of a Gazlan. I was my father's accountant. I know very well exactly what it is. I'm a bully. And you know what? And I'm telling you, pash means left over. Nothing stayed from you by him. We know our father was a Ganav, and I know I made him go on the straight path, and I know that he gave it back, and I know that the case is closed. I know for sure, says who, Mr. Son, and leave my house right now. I'm not giving you anything. Turin. Then they're potter. Toysfus again. Today is a day to do Toysfus. I'm asking a question. Why they so believed? Why? Because he's saying with a lot of confidence? Because he's telling me that he's a lawyer and an accountant and a tzaddik all together? What else is he? Chaver Knesset? Who said? Why is he believed? Says Toysfus, look. Chaver Knesset, they only say the truth. Now, the coalition. That was a good joke for the day. Middle Toysfus explains beautiful words here. Beautifully saw this. Middle Toysfus. They are exempt from paying because they're believed. Migo, remember our good amigo? Amigo. The children say, yes, he stole from you. You're saying that the money is there, or we have yellow cheese. Let's say the yellow cheese is not at the table. It's hidden in the back fridge of the back office. We could have denied the whole thing. We could have said, yes, it was stolen, and we gave it back to you. The mere fact we're playing your game, and we admit that we still have it, or that we say that he gave it back to you. But we could have said that it was returned, that we have returned it to you, and they don't say that. In that migo, they're believed b'chlal. Inami, another answer. Kigon she'en eidik zela. There were no eidim. Simple. A guy comes to their door, right, and says, your father stole from me. Anybody can come to anyone's door, like a horror movie, and say, your father stole. If you have no eidim, every child knows the rule. They can just smile at him and say, was that Halloween today? Lahavdil Erev Purim? What? You can't just come barge in and say your father stole. You have no eidim, you have no proof. Why are you bichlal believed? The only foot you have to stand on, the leg to stand on, because we really admitted that our father stole. Just like you believe us, we admitted that they stole, you should jolly well believe us that you also gave it back. It's similar to Migo. I don't know so much a difference, but Lamaisa, it's a kapesh osal peshe hitil. You have no proof against us. We are good boys. We are telling you the truth that he stole. So believe us also that he returned it. Because you anyhow rely on our words, so rely on us till the end. You can't cut their words into two. Yeah, I mean, some people say Plagin and Dibura. Here we don't say that. Very nice. So that is one brisa with one explanation. Frag the Gemara now about the Ktanim. Frag the Gemara. 1 minute. Tanya Idach. Very nice. Tanya Idach. Another brisa that argues on what we said regarding the little ones. Agoizul machilas bonov, turin melashalem, same thing. If they ate the potem shalem, they did not steal. It's not here. They're exempt. Heniach lifneim. Case number 2. What's an ichlif name? He died, and he left them over that stolen yellow cheese. So what do we say? V'acholum. Now, let's say they ate it up. It's all eaten up. Ben gdolim ben ktanim chayovin. Wow. They ate it up. They're still chayav. Both gdolim and ktanim. Wow. They both ate it up afterwards, and they are chayovin to pay. So that's a double problem here. First of all, if it's eaten up, why do they have to pay? And secondly, even the ktanim have to pay. That's crazy. So let's start dealing with the second problem, and then everything will be explained. Frag the Gemara about the second question. Ktanim mechayvi? Are you crazy? Chas v'sholem, not crazy. Are ktanim chayav for paying for what? For the item that they already ate up? Lo yeh ela da'azik azuki. Let them be as if they were mazik. I'll ask you a question. which many people in the Western civilization find it hard to understand. The Mishnah says in Daf Zayin Amud Aleph, if a little child came and the proverbial classical stone, a ball, he played ball and it smashed Mr. Cohen's window, I think it's very educational to tell the kid to do something about it 100%. Me'ikar adin, the child does not have to pay. The child, or even his father, doesn't have to pay. The child for sure doesn't have to pay. Let's put it this way. Even the father doesn't have to pay. The child is his own entity, cannot pay. You can't do anything about it, except for you do skula, whatever. But Lamaisa, cotton who's mazik doesn't have to pay. So you're telling me a cotton who already inherited it and ate up the cheese, even if you look at them as mazik, don't have chiyuvim. How are you claiming that the cotton should pay for the cheese that he ate? Yeah, that's already in his tummy. At best, even if he smashed it mazik, he's potter. Amar Papa Achikoma, we clearly have to change the entire version and everything will be beautiful. Oh, if you left it to them and they did not yet eat it, it's there physically, hard and kicking on the table, it's there. Ben gdolim, ben ktanim, chayovin. Both gdolim and ktanim are chayev, which means if they ate it up, nobody is chayev, as everybody believes, right? If they inherited and ate up, both Rami Bar Chama, if you make the cheshbon and Rava, they don't have to pay. However, if the item is physically there, the big ones, of course, have to pay. Why do they have to pay? Well, Rava would say there's no change of domain, and Rami Bar Chama says there's no Yiush. Anim. But Lamaisa, one point here, don't get lost in the forest here. There's one mechloikis and one only between the first brisa and the second brisa. And that is about the cutesy little ones below bar mitzvah. The first brisa says the ktanim are potur, even if the item is there in front of your eyes. Because in order for you to retrieve the yellow cheese from the kitchen table of the ktanim, you have to have a legal process. You have to have gvia. You have to have a tvia. Ktanim are just not tviable. They're not suable. You can't take them to Beis Din. And that's it. I don't know why not. Apotropos maybe. That's it. There is no choice according to the first brisa. Second brisa argues and says no. The second brisa says, if I have the item right here in front of my eyes, I don't have to really have any legal process to do that. Lamaisa, as says Rashi, in other words, it's in the domain of the father. It's like an embassy. If I have the yellow cheese in someone else's domain and it's there, it's still there. So even though it's been through the process of what? Going down to the level of the Ktanim, although it's not Shuni Rishus for whichever reason, it's still there in the Rishus of the father who died, and the Ktanim are like the Hemshech of the father, let's say like Rove. Lemaisa, you have to retrieve it legally according to Sumchus. According to Chachamim, I gave it in already. The first opinion is Sumchus. The second Raisa, which is Rabbanan, say no. I can go to Beis Din and claim it. It's not even called a claim. It's just, hey, look, the yellow cheese is there. It's past the window in the yellow in the kitchen. It's there. It's kilo never left my house. If it's my item, which has not been through Shini Rishus, it's like the embassy. If I go to the British embassy in Tel Aviv, I'm in England. That's it. All the rules apply there. I don't have to do anything else anymore. That's it. I can tell my family I was in England. In other words, that's the thing. Being the yellow cheese, the stolen item in the Rishus of somebody else without the procedure of Yiush v'Shuni Rishus and all that, it's kilo in my house. All I have to do is take it from them and goodbye. And if they resist, I'll call the Beis Din, and the Beis Din will help me. Okay? But Lamaisa, they have to pay. Lamaisa, they have to pay according to the second opinion. So it's a very clear machloekes. If you clear out everything else, machloekes duktanim, yes or no, have to pay for an item that's the aim that is in their possession right now, without Shini Rishus. What? Yes, very nice. Very good question. According to Rav, even if there was Yiush, lo mishaneh. Even if he was Meyash from the yellow cheese, and then remembers, here's my yellow cheese. Says Rav, it does make a difference, and still they don't have to give it back to him. Why? Because he believes that children inherit, big or small, are not in the domain. So there's no Shinei Rishus. It's not called, even if they live in Ranana and he lives in Eilat, it's the same household. It's the same family tree trickling down. No Shinei Rishus. So even if there was Yiush, according to Rava, they still what? They still have to pay. The Gdolim have to pay. Yeah? And the Ktanim is a question. According to Rami Bar Chama, no. According to Rami Bar Chama, if there was Yiush and then they inherited, they don't have to pay. Because he believes that they're a new domain, Shinei Rishus. So what's going on over here? There was no Yiush. In order for them to not have to pay, right? Yeah. Or yes, have to pay Be'ain. Yes, have to pay the Be'ain, the Gdolim. That is because there was no Yiush. So either the Shinei Reshus, wrong order. You can't have Shinei Reshus before Yiush. Very good. Thank you for helping me summarize it again for myself and for you. I'll send you the chart today. If I have time, wish me that I have enough time today to translate it to English, maybe. Weiter. Omar Rove, a new fascinating brisa. I think people will jump out of the skin over here because it's not a difficult brisa. It's very, as we say, interesting. Omar Rove. Now the connection between this brisa and the rest is going to be explained later. This brisa does not talk about Ganovim. It talks about a person who borrowed. How do you call a borrower in Hebrew? Remind me, my Hebrew is a bit rusty. The person who borrowed is called. No, we're not talking about loive. That's the fault of English. English uses the same word for loive and shoyel. You know that in Hilchos Shabbos, you're not allowed to say loive, you're allowed to say shoyel. What you do in English is a good question. Because although English is usually a rich language, here it's not. Because in Hebrew, shlove is only money, and shoel is anything else, items. Yeah, which by the way, Israelis make a lot of mistakes. You can feel good about yourselves because Israelis make a lot of mistakes in that also. But loive in halacha and in correct Hebrew is money, and shoel and mashil, lender borrower of other items such as a cow, for example, is called shoel. Shoel is one of the four imonis. Yeah, one of the four shomrim is a shoel. So what happened if a shoel died? Interesting question. A person borrowed someone's car for free. Somebody borrowed someone's Chevrolet. He borrowed his Chevy for a month. And then for how much is the Sheila? 30 days. Tamschil will Sheila 30 days. On day 15, he died so excited by driving the Chevy. So he died at the day 15. He has children who can drive. Now, those children, do they continue the period of Sheila of borrowing automatically? Or no? Yes, no. Do they have to renew it? Let's see what's going on. The father left to his children after his death a para, which is borrowed, a cow. We all borrow cows every once in a while, of course. Yesterday you did, I know. And he borrowed a cow, and the cow was borrowed. Yeah, this is Rava talking. Maybe it's Rava L'Shitosoi. The children continue the legacy of the father, and they now continue the sheila. They can keep driving the car because they were Yairish from the father, the rights for sheila. Since this car was not his, but was partially his as a borrowed one, as much as it was his to the level of sheila, they inherited that, and by the day 30, they have to give it back. But for the next 15 days after his patira, they run around in the car. Okay, maybe not during Shiva. But listen to this first wide line. Mesa, let's say the cow died and it was an oinus. The cow died by oinus. The cow died because a robber came out of nowhere and stabbed it. It died out of a very unexpected, not because of hard work, an accident which was absolutely not their fault. The Chevy died. The Chevrolet died, and was absolutely the Arab bus driver's fault and not them. 1 minute, please. Oinstein, you tell me, a shoyel is chai b'oinstein or not? Yes, of course. You all know. Listen to this. Mesa ein chayav in the onseo. Whoa. They're not chayiv in the oinus. They're having the cake and they're eating it. Wow. On one hand, we say that they continue the she'ela process and they can enjoy it. But the level of oinsin to be mischayiv the oinsin, they don't have. And if he died by oinus, they don't have to pay. If there was pshia, and some points can say, I think in the Rishonim, gneva v'aveda, they have to. But to the level of oinsin, they're not called a shoyel. And everybody here, this is now a mentalist. I know what you're all thinking right now in the room. Give me 1,000 shekels each. You're all asking what? Ma pitom, miman afshach. If they're shoyel, have responsibility. And if they're not shoyel, right, so leave the car alone. And yet this Hama coexists. Explain the Meforshim as follows. Don't even ask me who, because I saw so much stuff about it. I don't remember who says what already. Unfortunately, my Otzar Chochma screen, is like in NASA, all those kinds of things moving around. The answer is like this. The cow itself, was borrowed. It's a din in the cow. That cow, mitzad, the father, What's the relationship between the father, Olav Shalom, and the cow ownership-wise? He's a semi-owner. He's a shayel. He's allowed to use it. He's allowed to use it, right? Yes. He's not a ganav. He's very careful, very nice, decent guy. He has some kind of semi-mini ownership here to a level. Nobody can take it away from him, right? You ask him about Reuben and Shimon. If somebody would steal from him in the middle of Shale, would have to pay the show something also. So that much he bequeathed to them. That much is automatically theirs because Yerusha has no conditions. Yerusha is automatically. You close your eyes, it's very easy. Close your eyes, the person, we should all live till 120 healthy. He closes his eyes in hospital, boom, it's theirs. Whatever was his, cut and paste is theirs. Oh, so I don't have responsibility. Responsibility is on the gavre. Responsibility is on the person. That extra responsibility that says that what? That I am a shoyer and I hereby, signing on the dotted line by the lawyer, that I am ischayev the oinsin, or the Torah is mechayev me, that is an individual halacha in the person, not in the object. And as much as we like to say b'shem rova, same thing, they're not the same thing. The father was one thing, was Reuven, and the children are Levi, Yehuda, and Avner. They are not the same people. And since the chiyuv gavra of mischayev, my own body, my own shibud, by the way, if there's a karka, we'll see later, it's a different story. But as long as the shibud of the gavra, I don't have any collaterals or any land to collateralize for the cow. It's just me. I am mischayev that if anything happens to the cow, I'll pay. The children never mischayev in that. So funnily enough, that falls between the cracks. And if the thing was be'oines their potter, however, if it was Shiur their chayev, as we'll see later, or maybe in Gneva Vaveda, because there is no hefkervelt. The mere fact you use it, dear children, is mechayev you, because you guys are right, there's no free lunch. You can't use someone else's car and push out and destroy it like the youngsters like to drive and go crazy. No, because the mere fact you used it, that alone makes you a new chiyuv gavra. But that chiyuv gavra of theirs is not a shoyel. They never stood there by the lawyer with the father and said, we are, as a person, is chai with the extra strong shmira of oinsin. No. But the cow remains there, b'sheila, meaning they're allowed to use it. They're allowed to use it. Because the father used it, they kept using it, that's all. The keilu became, instead of shoyel, they became a shomer socher or shomer china. They continue using it because the usage inherited. But the mischayves is lower. We'll continue tomorrow, Meretz Hashem, from that brisa, and it's a very fascinating brisa with more parts. Be'ez Hashem, thank you very much. Any questions? I do have a charusa now, but for the next 2 minutes, I can hear questions, and I'll send you the